What is going on, everybody out there? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here is the podcast where we dive in to the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. And today we got a good one. But before we get to that, let me remind you that I am your bastard of ceremonies, the numero uno scumbag, Rexxx Ruger. That's Rexxx with 3 X's. Don't you dare get it twisted. You might also know me as AKA the King of Sleaze, AKA the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. There he is. Look at the faces. You can obviously tell that I am the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got 1 million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Boppa Loo Boppa Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Coming out of my seat here. I'm feeling good. Check. I'm looking good. Everybody in the house is looking good. And that is all made possible by right here. You want the quaff like Roth? Get you some. I am, of course, coming to you from the lush lavender lounge of love, where it all goes down. And I'm joined, as always, by my friend Keith Hernandez, puppet over there, a man who doesn't say much, but when he does, only I hear it. And that's what matters. A man that always has my back, my consigliere, my doorman, my head of security, my best friend, my sometimes drug connection. I've said too much. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You get no frills because you get me coming on here, introducing myself, showing you a little bit of what I do, working my mojo, and then we get into ass-kicking guests, and today is no different. Plus, I don't know how to give you any frills because I don't know shit about technology. So, that's where we're at. But I am the hardest working man in show business, not only bringing you awesome content here that you need to like and subscribe to, but fronting numerous glam and sleaze metal bands up and down the eastern seaboard, namely Love Sword. And I'm looking for great players. Serious inquiries only. Hit me up if you want to be the backing band behind the second greatest front man to ever do this thing. And that is moi. And today we got a kick-ass guest for you today. And I am so excited he's here on Pod Scum. So we're going to dive the fuck in. Let's get it on. Keith, you ready for this? Strap yourself in, buddy. It's going to be a hard one. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good, man. How's it going?
Awesome, man. Listen, man, it's such an honor to be able to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for coming on, first of all.
No problem.
Been a huge fan for years. People that don't know out there, Paul MAZURKIEWICZ, drummer, long time, always the drummer for fucking Cannibal Corpse, right? Who else has there been? You, right? The OG.
That's right.
But people are going to know you from Cannibal Corpse, but I'm really interested in this Umbilicus record. Fucking fantastic, man.
Oh,
I
awesome.
really am digging this, man. The Path of 1,000 Suns. Somebody put me onto it and said, geez, you should check this out. And the person said, this is classic rock like we used to listen to, done right.
Oh,
which is
man.
great praise.
I appreciate it, man. No, really. We're having a great time with that. I'm loving it. And I'm glad it's, we got that album released, and
Yeah.
we finally got some shows coming up here in February. It just announced actually last week here, and we're opening for King Buffalo in Miami, in Tampa, in Orlando. So that'll be February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. But finally, the live show's coming into play, and it's been a long time in the works here, a couple of years, but we're very happy that the album's out. I'm just, really pumped on the songs, and we're getting great reactions. Like yourselves. I mean, like yourself, it's amazing to hear,
Yeah.
We always want to hear feedback, of course, but a lot of people are talking super positive about the project. So that's great to hear.
I am up here in upstate New York, which you are obviously familiar with. You're originally an upstate New York guy yourself, right?
Well, more of a Western New York. We're from Buffalo, so
Buffalo. That's
yeah,
I'm closest to Syracuse right now, and freezing
right,
our asses off, and which
yeah.
is par for the course for this time of year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even worse though. I know that blizzard and that whole cold front is coming through, and looks
Yeah,
like it's going to hit everywhere in the country. But of course, yeah, I saw that the
yeah.
Northeast is going to get hit, especially right in where you're at, and also good luck, and hopefully it's not nothing too bad. But
Thank
looks
you.
like
Yeah.
it could be pretty crazy.
So, what was the impetus for doing this album? This is obviously a vast departure from what people, know you to do and expect of you to do. What was kind of the driving force? Is this music? Obviously, it sounds like it's music that this certainly was a big part of your upbringing. What was the driving force behind doing an album? It's such a vast departure from what people know you as.
Well, pretty much that's it. My love of this kind of music, of rock and
Yeah,
roll. I mean, growing up
sure.
when I did, it's kind of what you listen to in the early days, right? And that's what you first started hearing as a young kid, just growing up in the early 70s and throughout the 70s. So, I mean, I'll tell you though, it's probably for maybe the last 25 years, 30 years, really though. I mean, this has been what I love more than anything. This is
Yeah,
really what's inside of me is this kind
right.
of music, and I listen to it more than that's all I kind of listen to these days. I mean, I still listen to some heavier stuff here and there, but man, I mean, the rock and roll has taken over more so than ever. And a little backstory on this whole thing, really, to
Sure.
kind of tie it in together, was
Yeah.
about 20 years ago. It was just about 20 years ago, maybe a little over 20 years ago now, in around 2000, 2001, when Jack Owen was still in Cannibal Corpse.
Hmm.
He has the same love of this rock and roll that I do, and we always talked about a project, and a project came to fruition back then. We called it Path of Man, and we wrote a bunch of songs, and we did play 2 shows in Tampa at small bar here,
Hmm.
but it didn't get any farther than that. I mean, we thought we had fun doing it. It was a good departure, and exactly, it all stemmed from our love of this kind of music. Really
Right.
to want to try to create that as well. So that was short lived. It only went on for maybe a year or 2 years. Like I said, we played the 2 shows. We wrote a bunch of originals, and then that was that. Soon after, Jack was out of Cannibal, and I know he had another project that he was doing called Adrift that he was trying to get off the ground. But anyways, to fast forward, okay, well, that's done. Cannibal's doing a lot, still working, touring, all that. And right when we were done recording Violence Unimagined in early 20 there, when we went into the studio,
Hmm.
recorded and did the drums in April, and obviously the pandemic just started and was basically taking over, and no one we didn't know what was going to happen, right?
Right.
So when I was done with the drums and we were still recording, as time went on, we realized that we're not going to probably be able to tour when we thought we were going to be touring, which would have been the end of 22, at the end of 20, and release the album at that time. So I kind of looked at it as like, I have a bunch of time on my hands here, and I just thought immediately, like, man, this has been brought up in the past over the years, and it never came to be again. But to relive the project, let's get the band back together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bass player that's in Umbilicus was the bass player in this Path of Man with Jack Owen and I, and he's a really good friend of mine, still living in Tampa here. And I got a hold of him and I said, hey man, you want to start jamming some of these old songs? I mean, now's the time. We only live once. I mean, I got the time, all that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And we're getting older, so why not, right? So we started jamming some of those older songs that we had, just him and I, bass and drums. And and Jack, since a few years ago, I guess he moved out to Illinois, and he doesn't live in Florida anymore. And I don't think he really was wanting to be involved in the project regardless anymore as well. So we just said, let's just find a new guitar player. So that's when we looked around, and we recruited Taylor Nordberg, and he was just a perfect fit for us and all that. that. And then we just basically started from scratch at that point, you know. So we were like, hey, this is a new band now. Let's just write some new material and let's, you know, but I did really want to take it further than I did the other project. I wanted to do what we did right now. Like, hey, let's write some songs, let's record, let's make this the best we can do, and then see what happens. I mean, worst case scenario, hey, we're having fun doing it, and you know, we got something that's here forever kind of a thing, and we're very proud of. And you know, let's at least do that, right? So that's what we did, you know, and here we are talking about it. And the album, been out for a couple of months now, and we're about to do our shows. And you know, it's been a lot of fun, dude. I'll tell you, like I said, it's just in me, you know, and I'm really happy and proud of what we've done and what we've accomplished with this band. And you know, we'll just keep on going, see what happens, take it into the future. You know, you never know. So
well, I certainly would like to implore people, you know, because you know, it certainly spoke to me, and I was hearkening back to a lot of, you know, I'm going to be 50 next month. It, you know, brought me back to a time where, you know, I could hear Bad Company, I could hear Styx, I could hear Steppenwolf, I could hear a lot of these great bands. So I certainly want to urge people to give it a chance, because it is quite the vast departure from what people might be expecting. When I put the episode up and they see Paul from Cannibal Corpse, they're going to be thinking Cannibal Corpse. Did you worry though at all? Or are you even past the point of giving a shit about this kind of stuff, that it would be kind of polarizing to Cannibal Corpse fans, or that you'd get any kind of backlash, or does not even enter the equation?
You know, I didn't care really. I mean, I knew there's going to be the fans and people out there that, oh yeah, Paul's doing a project. Oh, you know, and they're going to expect it to be maybe more aggressive or you know, metal for that matter, or whatever, you know. So I was like, you know, let's just let the band speak for themselves. Of course, you know, I think a lot of fans like yourself that's older, maybe, I mean, would be able to understand this more and be able to go, yeah, right. Like you just said, bringing you back to the old days and the bands that you brought up. I mean, that's what we wanted to do. And I believe a lot of guys our age are going to feel that way, and women, and hopefully some younger, you know, fans as well. But, you know, I just didn't care. I'm just like, you know, I don't care. I want to do this, and that's all that matters. And whatever bad things or flack or whatever happens, I'm not even going to think about it. I just don't care. So.
Well, with Cannibal Corpse, and I was fortunate enough to see you guys live for the first time that I've ever seen you a couple years ago in Syracuse, and fucking awesome show. You guys played with Tomb Mold, which I thought was very incredible, because the guy was singing and fucking drumming at the same time. Pretty incredible, playing death metal drums and singing. I mean, that kind of blew me away. But of course, you guys absolutely blew me away. I think it was the first tour with Eric playing guitar. Talk to me a little bit about what you feel like Eric has brought to the band, because it's I mean, he's obviously an amazing guitar player. He's done a lot of stuff. Obviously, if people don't know the Hate Eternal stuff, but he's also been a guy kind of behind the soundboard, doing a lot of production type stuff, and help you guys out with a lot of that stuff over the years. But now that he's a full-fledged member of the band, has it changed the band at all?
Yeah, I mean, great to have him, of course. You know, I mean, really, we couldn't have asked for a better fit, you know, musically and personally, and you know, personality wise and all that kind of thing. He's just such a great guy, great force, great energy, a great talent. You know, you name it, right? He does it all, and he's been with us for so long. Exactly, him recording, you know, what, 5 albums now? This would have been his 5th one, I believe, and And then we've known him a long time. I mean, he's got such a great, you know, hand in the scene with being Hate Eternal, and then of course him when he was in Morbid Angel, and you know, I mean, it was just kind of like a natural transition, really, because working with him, you know, and being around him and touring with him with, say, Hate Eternal, and they toured with Cannibal and so many times, and Morbid Angel. I mean, you know, it was like, it was all that, that's all that was left, is for him to be in the band, I guess.
Right,
you know?
right.
So when it happened and we made the decision and he accepted and all that, it was just obviously such a natural kind of fit. And I mean, he's just brought his style of death metal to Cannibal, albeit whoever was in this band, and you know, we've only had a few member changes over the years, but you know, whoever comes in, I think they understand their role. And you know, of course, Eric started writing right away and wrote some great songs, but he's not going to write, you know, a Hate Eternal song. He's not going to write a Morbid Angel song. He's going to do his best to write a Cannibal Corpse song that comes out of Eric Rutan, you know. And I believe he did, you know, the 3 that he wrote there. So I mean, like any member change too, as well, brings a new energy. I mean, Eric is just such a positive guy, and it's great to be around that and to have that, that attitude, and so maybe it's a little different than what we were dealing with, but man, just a great guy, great transition. Like I said, fit right in, and he's just bringing, a little bit of just diversity to Cannibal now. Like I said, with his writing, so it's a great thing.
I'm interested to get your perspective on because as you pointed out so eloquently a couple minutes ago, we are getting to become old fucking guys. So playing this type of music, being on tour, playing the beats per minute that you play, has there been any I mean, obviously we can't replicate what we did 25 years ago or whatever, but do you feel a difference, and how do you adapt to playing that brutal type of music that you play as the body gets older?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to adapt. Of course, you have to change it up. You can't rely on just 20-year-old adrenaline and fury and all that kind of thing like you used to. So,
right.
So I mean, I've learned over years to really work on my movements, to work on my stamina more so, and all those things. I mean, that you just kind of need in general as a human to survive, I guess.
Yeah.
To feel good in life, right? Let alone doing playing death metal drums. So yeah, I mean, it's a little more practice, a little more, I think the mind takes over a little bit more. So, like I said, back then, when you think about it, it was just, you just went for it,
Right.
Especially I did, and Cannibal Corpse, and maybe a lot of death metal. And then the older I got, I was able to use my mind more, and realize that hey, if I do these things and I work on these things, which I would have never thought maybe in the early days to do, that's helped big time. So yeah, I mean, it's just all those, I always say too, it's just a lot of the little things, right? You get good sleep, you try to eat right, you try to get some exercise, you got to push yourself a little bit more, all those things. I mean, that's just what you have to do. So yeah, I mean, it's not getting any easier the older we get, right? And the older I get, it's not getting
isn't. No,
and the music's not getting any easier, right? Just
no.
The last few records. So yeah, it's just just keep pushing, keep pushing along, and try to do better every day, kind of a thing. And that's all you can do. And then have some good luck too. I mean, I'm lucky to have good genes, I guess, where I never really had to deal with, say, back injuries or major injuries, where a lot of guys might at this point be like, well, I just can't do it anymore because they got some major issues, and that happens. So I'm fortunate that I have never had to have dealt with that kind of thing. So all you can do is take it day by day as well. Exactly. Who knows? Knock on wood, something could happen tomorrow, right? And it could be all over. But and then we can, who knows? I can go on for another 15 years. Well, who's to say? But all we can do is push along.
So I'm interested. What is your creative process like? Because I take it like obviously you write songs for Cannibal Corpse. You songwriting with Umbilicus. Do you have any kind of like a set routine when you're gonna sit down and create or write? Like any kind of you go to a certain room of the house. You need to set a certain mood, or are you just somebody that the ideas could come at any point in time?
Well, for Cannibal, I mean, the most writing, of course, I'm doing creatively for the biggest part is the lyrics. So when I do write lyrics, and I've obviously written a lot of them over the years, I mean, I just got to get into the zone. I just need the music. And I need maybe a song title, and if we have a little bit of an idea, maybe what we're thinking about, what we're gonna do, and then I just gotta sit down and do it. So I've never been one in that regard, like, well, I need to be in a certain room, or I need this and this. It's just wake up and knowing I got to get it done, and I have to do it. And we're always under kind of time constraints, kind of a thing. And we always have, I guess, our whole career, right? No matter what we've done. So you got to get your job done, so I guess I just get into that zone, and I do it lyrically anyways. Now, and then same thing kind of, I guess, when it comes down to, say, drum parts or whatever. Hey, we got to write songs in 6 months. Okay, well, somebody's got a song. Okay, Rob and I are working on it. Let's go through the parts. Let's work on arrangements. We're up at the practice room. Hey, what about this beat? Okay, you're just plugging away. So really, it's just nothing too complex or special for the most part. It's just, hey, when we have to get that stuff done, we do. luckily we've been able to do that. I know it's crazy to think that we've been around, what, 34 years now, and we've released
Yeah.
15 CDs, and you're thinking that's on average of two every 2 years we're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to create in those given times, and we're able to do it. So I think it's just a matter of when you need to, you got to just buckle down and get flowing and all that, and we all seem to actually be able to do that. So there's been no shortage of creativity for sure.
Now, you guys, you mentioned the long career. You mentioned, all the prolific years of all these albums that you've given to us, and been one of the rare extreme metal bands to actually find commercial success in a genre of music where commercial success is not easily attainable. Having said that, with all these years that have gone by and all the changes in the music business, and not that there's as much we can change about it, we kind of got to go kicking and screaming with the technology, whether we want to or not. But do you like where we are right now? Do you like the digitalized music and going to the streaming platforms, or are you kind of like an old school guy? I imagine you might be, that still likes a physical product and album artwork, which Cannibal Corpse, it's always been a big part of what you guys do.
Yeah, man, it's a weird one, because obviously most of us old guys are probably more purists, and want to, oh man, a vinyl and cassettes and all that, and the old days where they were special and all. But you have to adapt. You have to adapt with the times. I mean, whether you like it or not, I guess. But personally, it's weird because I guess I never would have thought. I mean, I really don't listen to vinyl. I've always loved vinyl because of the big.
Same for me.
Yeah, you had the bigness of it. Everything was big. You loved opening the record, right, and reading the lyrics, and everything was as big as they can be, because that's
right.
Everything just got smaller and smaller as we went, right?
Sure did, yeah.
And even the CDs. So and then now, my gosh, you don't even need that. Just, hey, I'm going to stream a record. You don't even, you maybe have the cover because it comes onto your phone or whatever, but you don't have maybe the booklet or something. But I look at it like, I think most metal people, though, no matter their age or whatever, I would think that they still want the physical product. I mean, when we go on the road, we still sell a lot of records at our merch booth. We sell a lot of CDs. I mean, I think that's just a metal thing, when you have that in your hand, whether it's a bigger thing like the album or the smaller, booklet like a CD, you still got that in your hands, and you're able to look at the artwork personally and read the lyrics and read, if there's liner notes or whatever and all that kind of thing. So I think that's, that seems to be always been a metal thing, and I don't know if that'll ever go away, but but it is weird to to be in this digital age, where streaming is just so popular and all that. And I mean, it is easy. I mean, I'll admit, right, if I want to listen to something, hey, just go to Apple Music, there you go, bam, it's at my fingertips. There,
I'm guilty too. Yeah.
I mean, I listen to most of my music while I'm driving as well.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't find myself not listening to a lot at home these days. I like the quiet, not like when growing up, I guess, where it's just music 24/7. So it's just much easier to be able to put the phone or hook it up and go Bluetooth or what have you, or XM or whatever you got, and just play it in the vehicle that way. So
having said what you said about growing up with music around, did you grow up in a household where there was an abundance of music, and how early on did you know that this was going to be a career path for you? Was there anything else ever in your sights?
Yeah, I mean, there was music. I mean, definitely there was music. By no means was I like a major, my parents were, they were just regular, I guess I would call them just regular fans of music. My dad had his record collection, his 45s and some albums. That my mom, I don't even think really had too much, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but it wasn't like my dad was always just listening to the music. I found that all by myself, kind of a thing, like one day going up in the attic and, hey, there's the box of 45s. You might have had a couple albums out, and put some on, and that's how you discover some you're discovering. That's how I discovered. I mean, my uncle was a drummer in a polka band, and I saw that live kind of a little bit. My immediate cousin was a drummer as well, and he was 2 years older than me, so he was almost like a big brother, and
Mhm.
he probably helped me along in my latter years, especially teens, before I became a drummer per se. But once it hit me, and once I was into it, like full time, say, of course, guys our age, people like Kiss, they were huge, right? I mean, I loved Kiss. I lived Kiss. Most boys, that grew up when we did, or I did, I mean, were the same way. So Kiss was my first just band that I freaked out about, and I lived it. And then it just stemmed from there, and then of course the older I got, and then you're growing with the scene because of being grown up in the 80s, and you're going from just regular rock to like heavy metal to
Right.
then thrash, then it's power metal and thrash metal, and then all this, everything's just changing constantly. So I would say by the time I was 15, of course 16, when I got my first drum set, I was, this is what I want to do. I love music so much. You want to create, you want to be in a band, all those things. And, I think you have it at the back of your mind. Of course, it'd be great to be in a band that's, doing what your heroes are doing out on
Sure.
touring and, and all that kind of thing. But, you weren't expecting any of that. You're just going about the love of music, playing your instrument, and just trying to better yourself, and, find like-minded individuals that want to, jam with you and all that. And, but yeah, I think around 16, 17 is when I really go, I would love to do this, of course, for a living. And, and I was really pushing it to try to do that. And, luckily it all worked out, I guess, in the end.
And I had the privilege a few months back of talking with another Florida metal guy, the great James Murphy, on here, and we were trying to put our heads together. And I don't even know if we came up with anything plausible outside of maybe blaming it on the extreme heat, but it's probably not the reason. But why all this great death metal that comes out of Florida? Are you guys just hot and fucking angry down there? Like, we're all, I mean, obviously it goes without saying that it's one of the more well-known scenes in any genre of music. I mean, Obituary, you guys, Deicide, Morbid. I mean, it spawned a lot of great death metal bands. Can you put your finger on why it became such a hotbed for great death metal?
Yeah, it's crazy. Not really. I mean, I think it's more coincidental.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Morrisound here. A lot of bands were going to Morrisound. I mean,
Sure.
but then of course there was a lot of bands that were here. I mean, but I also look at it like, obviously we get lumped in with the Tampa death metal scene because people think we're from Tampa, and we've been down here obviously for 30 years. So,
Yeah.
And we did all our recordings. So you immediately think, oh, well, Tampa band, Cannibal Corpse. And they might not even realize that, no, we're from Buffalo, and we were active, started from, there, moved down. But, when I think about the bands, I mean, there's only maybe a few bands that were actually from Florida, like Obituary.
Right.
The one that really comes to mind that were pure Floridian. When I think of some of these other bands, I know they live down here, but I think a lot of the musicians came from other places. I think of a band like Deicide, where they were, first album they're recording Morrisound, they're here in Florida, but I know Glenn was from Niagara Falls. Steve, I'm pretty sure is from like New Jersey. So it wasn't like, they're all, Floridian and they get together. So I think a lot of the bands weren't actually Floridian, but yeah, weird. Why was just that concentration in kind of the whole central kind of Florida?
Right.
For that matter. I mean, I don't know. I would just chalk it up to kind of to coincidence, I guess, because there was some good ones up in, say, New York. When if you're talking New York State, you got us. You got Cannibal, you got Suffocation, you got Immolation. Those three come to mind right off the bat, and then you got other bands. Like I think Incantation, being from, I'm pretty sure they're New York, I believe. And
just had John on a couple days ago.
Oh, nice. Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, very nice guy. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just more coincidental than anything with this whole Tampa, Florida death metal kind of thing.
What do you remember back in the days about when Tipper Gore was on her huge tirade there. You guys, among other bands, Two Live Crew. There were a lot of bands around that late '80s scene when the parental advisory shit was really going on, and they were really trying to crack down on music. Was it just business as usual for you guys, or did you guys get any flack or any kind of pushback at all from anybody when any of that was going on?
Yeah, I mean, it was all business as usual. No matter
Yeah.
what happened to us, it's been business as usual.
Like, fuck it, we're putting this out no matter what.
Yeah, we're going to do our thing, and we've done our thing. I mean, if anything, what ends up happening is just good publicity, right?
Right. Right.
Oh, they're talking about our band, there you go. I mean, when that whole thing came out with I remember the big Bob Dole special. Remember he was running.
Sure.
And he mentioned all these things where, the music of today is ruining our youth and all this. And he mentions all these bands, and he lumps us in with all these rap bands. And then all of a sudden, you hear our name and you're like, what, this is just like gold here, I mean, when we're top story on USA Today and CNN and every news story, I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, what great publicity, right?
Yeah.
So if anything, that's just pushed us along in that way, but nothing has ever deterred us from just doing what we want to do. I mean, we're a death metal band. We write our music, and things might happen like that seems, maybe it could come across as negative, depending on what who you are, or what, if you're into the music or whatever. But it all just came down to, it didn't matter. Let it roll off the back, and let's just keep doing what we've been doing. And, and that's what we have been doing for 34 years now. So.
And what kind of break was it when you guys get the opportunity with the whole Jim Carrey thing? Talk a little bit about that. That was a pretty nice break. First of all, is Jim Carrey a legitimate fan?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great opportunity, of course. I mean, I mean, as far as we know, he was. I mean, when you look back at the interviews that were done prior to that, and the big one was that Arsenio Hall show he did, where he was talking about how he loved Napalm Death, and I don't know if you mentioned us in that, but
but it's not often that a death metal band gets asked to be part of a movie soundtrack.
Oh, totally. From what I remember, and it's a good question whether I don't know if he's really was ever into it, or if he's into it now, or I mean, you would think he was somewhat into it, because he wanted us in the movie, and he personally wanted us in, and the director did. And then when we were there and we met him and all that, he was thrilled for us to be there, and he's rattling off lyrics, and I remember him saying, like, he just found it, just interesting. Very, finds this kind of music. It was intriguing. It's fascinating to him,
Yeah.
And I would hope in a good way, and not,
Sure.
Not in just some kind of passing fad, which it could have been. I don't know. But either way, at that time, I mean, what great timing for us to be in this movie, where obviously it helped us propel our career. We're already doing well on our own, but, obviously so many people saw the movie, and, were subject to seeing us in death metal, and, how many fans have come up to us over the years, and, oh man, I saw you in the movie for the first time, got me into you guys, got me into death metal. I mean, that's an amazing thing. So Jim did a lot, for us and for the scene of death metal. And, I'm always curious though, right? We've never had contact with him after that. Obviously, obviously that was all pre-cell phone and pre-internet even, and all that kind of thing. So you're going, is he into it? Is he still in it? Did he go, did he buy the last record? Is he jamming it out, or is he going, man, what was I thinking? That was ridiculous or something. I mean, so who knows? But either way, it is what it is. And we're in the movie, and the movie did great, and
really great. Yes.
And, what a great story, right? So.
A big polarizing topic that gets tossed around in the death metal community, and specifically about your band, is, you certainly have your purists, your ones who swear by the Chris Barnes era stuff. Obviously, we talked about personnel changes before. Changing lead singers is no small feat, to capture lightning in a bottle a second time and get somebody equally, if not greater, which in my opinion, George certainly filled those shoes above and beyond for me personally. But talk a little bit about the two different eras about Cannibal Corpse, and like the impact that you think that they, that each or the legacy that both eras of Cannibal Corpse have carved out for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy to think that that we did that, and here we are, bigger than ever. I mean, it's a tough thing to pull off. Exactly. I mean, the early era, the Barnes era, what I guess everyone calls it. I mean,
Yep.
that was that's the beginning of the band. I mean, that's what obviously started us out, and how we got going and all. And we're doing fairly well, right? The Bleeding comes out, Tomb of the
Oh
Mutilation.
yeah.
Those albums, we're doing well.
Very.
We're going up the ladder here. We're moving up. We're not we're forced to be reckoned with now. So exactly, to change a singer in the middle of that, it seems a little crazy, but it had to happen. So you look back now, and exactly, I think we all obviously feel the way you do, and we bettered the band. George is just a better vocalist overall, and we've moved forward, and here we are. Geez, Barnes has been out of the band how long now? 25 years
Yeah.
or so. But both eras, they mean something, of course. I mean, that's the beginning of the band. So you're going to get those purists that are going to go, that's I love that era more because okay, whatever. I mean, I got no problem with that. I mean, it is what it is. He was a part of the band, and we did do well. It wasn't like he was nothing, or nothing was happening with that time, and
Right.
and get George and everything's okay. It was like, man, it was a big thing to deal with, and luckily we were able to persevere and get through that, and to be bigger than ever. So yeah, I mean, it's always going to be debated, I guess. There's going to be people talking about it, and but that's just that's the history of the band. So that's whether you like it or not, or whether we like it or not, it doesn't matter. But he's a part of the history of Cannibal, and any member that was in the band is, and that if it wasn't for him, I guess the five of us, the five original members, well then the band would have never maybe existed, right? So
Right.
so
Right.
it's an important era, and it can't be overlooked, and the significance of the original band in the beginnings of Cannibal Corpse. So I'm just, it's cool to be able to talk about it. I mean, not it like I said, a cool story that most maybe a lot of bands wouldn't be able to survive, and luckily we have been able to survive, and like I said, do better than we ever thought we would have. I
Yeah,
guess
absolutely.
I having George in the band. So
And by getting George, you can almost count two members because you count him and his neck separately, I believe. I mean, his neck seems to be its own entity.
I think it is. You're right. Totally. So
So
yeah.
the artwork, you guys have pretty much consistently stayed with the same fella doing your artwork all these years.
Yeah, Vince Locke, right? He's done the very beginning, of course, of Eating Back to Life, and other than the Kill album, which his artwork was inside the album,
Right. Right.
he's done every cover basically, or definitely. So yeah, he's been an integral part in the success of our band. I mean, visually, I mean, people come to know that, hey, they're gonna buy a new record, they're gonna
Yeah.
see Vince Locke artwork, and of course he does a lot of the t-shirt designs too, and all that kind of thing. So yeah, we feel lucky to have him, and still working with us and all that. I mean, he's just a good part of the team. I mean, he's an important part of the team, and it's kind of cool that yeah, that we've been having we had him ever since. It's like, man, all our things that we do, same record label now for 30 some
Yeah.
years. Vince Locke,
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right, Paul? I mean, shit. I mean, it's
that's
going so
right.
goddamn well. But this
Right.
Vincent Locke, though, I thought I saw in some kind of documentary or something, though, that it was quite a long time, though, before you
Right.
guys actually met.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was like 20 some years. I remember, I forgot when the first meeting was, but it was a long time. We never met him in the early days. Him living in Michigan, and just our paths never crossed, kind of a thing. And yeah, we met him for the first time, and it was a great meeting, and really we've only met him, I think it was one other time. So I've only been around him, maybe, I think all of us only like twice, this whole time. I mean, of course we talked to him and on the phone and email and all that, but yeah, weird that took that long to meet him personally, and then our meetings have been few and far between. So
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Have you guys ever consciously sat around, or even you yourself sat around and thought about if there's like a quote unquote expiration date, or like how long, this band will go. You get some rock stars who are just like, I'll go till the wheels fall off. They'll carry me off the stage. You're obviously playing a very aggressive, brutal type of music that takes a toll on the body physically. Have you thought about, if there's an appropriate time to hang it up? Not that we want you to go anywhere, Paul. We don't want you to go anywhere. But is this something that you've ever thought about? Like, geez, I can't still be death metal drumming at X age, or maybe shift into something more full time, like the Umbilicus type stuff. Is that anything that's ever crossed your mind?
Well, of course, it's going to start crossing our minds more so than ever. The older we get, we know we can't do this forever, right? Back when you start, you don't think of the end, because it's like, obviously you're young, and 30 years from then, like where we are now into the future, so to say, if you're thinking about it back then, you just don't even, you can't even conceive that. It's not even a thought, right? So now that we're getting up in age, and you're going, okay, yeah, it's not getting any easier and all this. I mean, really, but I think we'll know. I mean, we take it day by day. I mean, like I mentioned earlier about the drumming, I mean, if we're all feeling good, why not, right? I mean, want to do this is what we've been doing. This is what we do. So why not keep going? Now, I think as long as we feel that we're relevant, and we're, writing music from the heart, which we always do, it's okay. We're going through the motions. So I guess it's just going to come down to, hopefully we'd be able to realize when it's time to stop. I mean, none of us have ever put a timeline on it or anything of going, okay, we're going to stop at this point. I mean, it seems crazy to say, hypothetically, can I drum like this in 70? I mean, 15 years away. Can I do it at 60? I mean, we don't know, so you're going, on paper, it might sound crazy, and going, there's no way. Well, I guess, if I really would have thought of it back when I was 20, 30 years old, I would have said, there's no way I'm doing this at 50. How could you do this at 50?
I know.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
So I mean, there's no timeline. There's, we're having fun. This is what we do. I mean, we just take it day by day, and that's all we can do at this point, but obviously, when you look at it, the end is closer than the beginning at this point. I mean, that's just seems like, come on. I mean, really, can we do this at 80? That would be, you would have to think that would be pretty impossible.
It's a little different than what the Rolling Stones do.
Right.
Well,
that's why I like the Umbilicus. Exactly. I go to play that kind of stuff, and I'm like, wow, I actually could do that when I'm 80, maybe 85, I mean, compared to what I'm doing with Cannibal, right? So I mean, you never know. But we just take it day by day, and if we're feeling good, why not? But I mean, there's no reason to think about the end. Let's just think about the immediate,
absolutely,
and the immediate future, and then just take it from there. So
it's been hotly debated on all these music sites. You always get people, even in sports, the debate about who the GOAT is in this, or what's the best one of this, or the best one of that. And I know you probably approach them all like they're, I've heard musicians, refer to albums, I mean, like they're all like their children or whatever. They view them all, differently, but have a fondness for all of them. But if, gun to the head, someone asks you your favorite Cannibal Corpse album.
I mean, I'm always going to go back to, I mean, it's a tough one, because it's hard to not want to say like Eating Back to Life, just because, man, that's the first album. That's when you're, where you were at your hungriest, really.
Right.
Everything starting out, and you're just like so happy to, I mean, not that you're not happy to have any of these, of course, don't get me wrong, but that firsts, those firsts. And, so I always go back to Eating Back to Life, just when I think of how we all were and how I felt and all that. So, I mean, is it really the best? I mean, that's obviously debatable by everybody as fans. I mean, you're going to talk to 15 different fans, and they might give you 15 different albums, and it'll be every album, will be one of the Cannibal Corpse records, right? So so I'm always going to say that. But
what about George era? What about George era, though?
Well, when I do think about it, I think of like, if we're going to say what are maybe the top, say 4 or 5, like musically, where I go, okay, I think The Bleeding is a great album. Really, when I listen to the songs on The Bleeding, I go, man, we had something going there for that one. Why? How did that happen? But we wrote some really good songs, and then I listened to an album like Kill, and go, man, that was like a next step up for the band. And we wrote some really, really just catchy, groovy, heavy songs that are very memorable. And, that was one that resonates with me. And then, I like Red Before Black a lot. I mean, I really like the
Me
way
too.
I love the songs. I don't know why, just something, about the way all the songs just fell together. It kind of reminded me of old school Cannibal, like, and mixed with the new Cannibal, and it's just all those songs. So, of course, I love Violence Unimagined. I mean, I'm really loving the direction we go in every album, and I feel that we're just getting better and better as songwriters and musicians and all that kind of thing, and pushing ourselves even more so. But I guess if I'm gonna, talk about those three in particular, besides Eating Back to Life, would be, yes, right, the bleeding, Kill, and Red Before Black for me.
What about the I wanted to ask too about as you get older, and obviously we tend to not have that chip on our shoulder and be as aggressive as we were when we were young. We mellow out. You can obviously tell that shift with the Umbilicus album or whatever. Does it get hard to tap into when you're writing death metal lyrics? Obviously you're more full of angst, you're more full of anger when you're younger. How do you tap into these just brutal, savage lyrics as you get older? I mean, is it horror movies? Is it the news? Is it like, where's the impetus of it all come from?
Yeah, it is crazy, right? Because obviously, yeah, I'd be lying if I said, "Oh, I just think about all these subjects all day." I mean, and then,
we probably have to throw you to padded cell, Paul, if you were thinking about that all day.
I know. And you think about it in the early days, where exactly you're watching maybe more movies and you're just more roast and maybe a kind of like all the horrific kind of things that are happening in the media, or entertainment, I should say, for that matter. But but these days, yeah, I'm not watching a lot of horror movies, or I'm not reading a lot of things and things. So I guess I always tell people when I get asked this question, I mean, I guess I've just absorbed. We've all absorbed for obviously years and years and years. So when it comes down to it, when okay, I got to write lyrics, well, then they just come out of me. I mean, I just got to sit down, know I got a job at hand, I know I got to get them done, and let me just start thinking about these these subjects. I guess got a good title, okay, I know where I'm going to go with it because I got a title here, and then just start listening to the music, what starts rolling in my head. All right, this is the direction I'm going to go in, and and then I just take it from there. But it's really all just inner imagination more than anything. In the last, say, maybe 10 years of writing lyrics for me, as opposed to going, all right, gotta write lyrics, let me watch movies, let me read stories, all those kinds of, and I've done that in the past, but not now. I just let the imagination take over when it needs to happen. So which is it's really my favorite way of writing. Just very organic. It's just coming from within, and I'm not trying to overthink things. I'm really just wanting to use words that are going to come out of my mouth. I mean, if you look back at all the lyrics, I mean, there's been plenty of changes in the sense of like, using big words where, obviously we're pulling out words out of the chorus. And you're going, man, whoever even says this word, but hey, it means this, but it'll make a good lyric. But I kind of try to stray away from that and just go, let me pull stuff out that I would say, that words that I would use on a daily basis, or have heard or know, instead of trying to dig around and trying to find things. So so it just, it is weird, when I think about it as well, just going, man, it's just
where the hell do I come up with this stuff? Yeah.
Where's this coming from? Now and all this. I mean, what the hell?
How about your own? I'm glad you brought that up. How about your own children? What's their assessment of your music?
Well, I got just one daughter, and she'll be 17 actually next week. But yeah, it's funny because she doesn't like death metal really. I mean, she doesn't like the vocals. She'll tell you, I can listen if it was just musical. I like the music, and but she's all over the place. I think like most kids are these days. Loving so many different kinds of styles of music that are just like whatever. That's fine. To each their own, and hey. But yeah, she's not really the biggest metal fan, even for that matter. I mean, she's just starting now to get into some heavier stuff, and heavy being more like, oh, like she likes System of a Down or
Yeah.
Linkin Park and things like that.
Right.
So, but it's the great thing about music, and I've never pushed her to, oh, she's got to like what I do and all that. I mean, I could care less, really. I want her to be her own person and have her own likes and
absolutely.
So,
best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't, I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't even just got to be about the music business. Just life in general.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, and I'm sure I've been given some great advice, and that's a tough one to answer because I don't want to say the wrong thing or probably I've forgotten some good advice, and and I've been asked this before. What I always change it into the advice that I would give to people.
Sure.
Because a lot of people always ask that question as well. What would
you?
And then I always just say, just be yourself, man. Just you got to stick true to yourself, especially if you want to be a musician. I mean, don't get into music because you want to, make money or you want to be famous and all that. You play music because it's a passion, and you gotta stick true to your guns there and your beliefs, and
absolutely.
Don't give up. I mean, that's probably one thing that I guess I, would think back now that to answer maybe your question a little more. So how my father always used to say, like, that maybe I used to give up too early or too easy on things, especially playing hockey. I played hockey my whole life. He was always my coach. Would always, like, you can't give up, I mean, and, and he's totally right. You can't just give in, if it's hard, oh, it's too hard. I got to stop, or I got to quit, or I don't want to, it's like, man, nothing in life is going to be easy for the most part. So you got just really just push and keep trying. Don't give up. I mean, that's important words to live by, I think.
Well, and I think that's a testament to you guys. I mean, did you ever think 30 some odd years ago that you would have this lengthy of a career in the genre that you play music in? Though, I mean, it's pretty mind blowing. I mean, I think you've lived that advice.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I mean, really, we have, and that's why I give that advice to people, because we're prime examples of you just. Look what you can do with hard work, of course, being in the right place at the right time, all those kinds of things, a little luck and all that. But we didn't give up, I mean, especially when I was starting to play the music. Exactly. I mean, we practiced so much and we just pushed and pushed. This is what we wanted to do. This is what we love to do.
Right.
And then good things happen from it, I mean, so you can't, you got to try. I guess it's another thing too, right? If you have a passion of a desire beyond the norm kind of a thing, like, right, being a musician or an athlete or something of that nature, you got to give it a shot, because you're just going to regret it later if you didn't even try,
Yeah.
If
I agree with that 100%.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. You could try and maybe it doesn't work, but you know what? When you get older and you're our age and you're going, hey, I tried, because if you go back and go, man, I wish I would have,
I wonder what could have happened. Right.
Well, you don't ever think that. Don't ever say that, man. Try, because you can't, then you can go, hey, I gave it a shot and it didn't work out. It wasn't in the cards for me, but I tried,
Yeah.
But that's important,
So what will be next for, we'll take it project by project here. The Umbilicus stuff, it's out now. You're talking about doing some shows, like a full-blown tour, or just some isolated dates here and there?
Yeah, just isolated. Yeah, the Umbilicus came out a couple of months ago now, and we're finally coming to light where we're playing our first live shows. I mean, it's a little tough because, of course, I got to work around Cannibal's schedule, and Taylor, the guitar player in Umbilicus, he's in Deicide now.
Right.
So obviously, we're both kind of working around our schedules here to figure out what could work, and then. What ended up happening is when Cannibal just played our last show here, 2 weeks ago, Saturday, when we finished the tour in the United States, we played in St. Petersburg, Florida. It was our last show. And I remember, I go, you know what, guys, let me talk to the promoter that brought Pete Olin, that brought Cannibal, that promotes, kind of the booking agent, the promoter of the show. And I go, let me got anything in the pipeline that we can maybe get onto, knowing we had a little bit of time in January and February to do something here, because Cannibal's well, not to get ahead of ourselves, but right, Cannibal's going on tour and Deicide are. So I asked Pete, I go, hey man, we'd love to play in maybe mid-February. We need to get on some show or something, because we don't feel that we should headline anything just yet. We're such a new band. We need to get on somebody, as an opening slot. So he rattled off a couple bands and he goes, hey, would you guys want to maybe possibly, what do you think about opening for King Buffalo? This psychedelic kind of rock band that I guess have been around for a while, and you can do the Orlando, Tampa, and Miami show at the end of February, and I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. We can get on a show that of a band that's known, and play in front of some people just to get the ball rolling here on a live setting. So that's what we got going. It's February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Orlando, Miami, and Tampa, opening for King Buffalo and a couple of other bands. So that's all we got right now. So it's at least it's a start, because to get to further your question there, right? Cannibal, then we go to Europe in March, so we leave on March 8th, and we're going to be gone till the end of April, and we got that in the works, and I'm sure there's going to be some other things in the future that are not set in stone or anything to even mention at this point. But for the Umbilicus, it was important to to get something in before that happened. Otherwise, we may not be playing or getting anything till possibly maybe the summertime of next year.
Yeah.
So and then you never know, right? More could come up with the Umbilicus, but at this point, we'll get those 3 shows going, which is amazing, and we'll take it from there. So.
And then what about Cannibal Corpse? Obviously, you said you guys are hitting the road again early next year. When do you guys get back in the studio and or start writing a new album?
Well, that's all to be determined. I mean, we still got a lot of touring to be done when we look at it, because when you think about it, we've only done really 3 tours.
Yeah.
For this record so far. I mean, obviously it's been out a long time now, but so we still got some things to talk about and shows to be done, and we're kind of just playing it by ear for the most part until after that tour happens. We'll see what next year brings us and all, but that's all yet to be determined. So we know we're not going anywhere though, and we're just like saying, I'm like, knock on wood, unless something just crazy happens, unforeseen, here we are, we're plugging away and just keep doing what we've been doing.
The Cannibal Corpse machine will fucking roll on. And I'll tell you what, it didn't go over really well, man. Anytime I suggest fucked with a knife for a wedding song, it never goes over good.
Well, that could be a little bit of, I can see some.
You guys aren't known to write romantic songs, that's for sure. But
definitely not. Definitely.
They're romantic to me, though. So, I mean, listen, man, it's been a real honor and a pleasure talking to you, man. And hopefully we can stay in touch and we can do this again. Next time something's percolating and something's going on, we can jump on here and do this again. But I really appreciate you being so generous with your time, man. I've been a long-time fan, and it's a real honor. It really is.
Oh, man. No, thank you so much. I'm glad we got to do this, and great doing all that, and I had a lot of fun. And
me too.
And we'll do it again sometime soon for sure.
Absolutely. And I wish you and the family happy holidays. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you too, man.
Okay. Thanks a lot,
right.
Paul. See you, buddy.
All right, man. Take care.
Later, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're welcome, folks. That's all I'm going to fucking say. That is the great Paul MAZURKIEWICZ. You might know him as the guy pounding a couple hundred beats a minute behind the kit with Cannibal Corpse. He's just put out a kick-ass classic rock album, very vast departure from what he does, a band called Umbilicus. And the album is Path of a Thousand Suns. If you like Steppenwolf, if you like old school Bad Company, Styx, any of that great 70s and 80s arena rock that just filled you with joy and fun. And I will, again, let me say, it's a vast departure from Cannibal Corpse. This is not death metal. This is not growling. This is not, anything like what he does in Cannibal Corpse. It's a complete polar opposite, but an extremely kick-ass album. Like I said at the top of the interview, classic rock done fucking right for a change. Somebody hearkening back to those days and putting out a product here in 2022 that epitomizes what we loved so great about that classic rock back then. And of course, he's got a day job with a little legendary death metal band called fucking Cannibal Corpse. They were in the Ace Ventura movie. Jim Carrey's a fan. Need I say more? I mean, for fuck's sake, man, just the gold standard in death metal. is Cannibal Corpse. Hope you guys enjoyed the fuck out of that interview, because I certainly enjoyed the fuck out of doing it. That is Paul MAZURKIEWICZ from Cannibal Corpse, man. Probably one of the biggest legends in death metal. Certainly Cannibal Corpse, the most legendary death metal band of all time. From a commercial success standpoint, what they've done is just unbelievable, man. Love those guys. Love Paul. Hope you guys enjoyed the shit out of that. And remember, Keith ain't gonna fucking say it. Take it easy and keep it sleazy.